should connect automatically. Hopefully everything...
Okay, we should be live here on YouTube. And I'm going to give it a moment or so for people to jump on the live stream. And I want to see your wonderful comments come up on the page. I know people are joining from around the world. It's a better time that I'm streaming today for US audiences. I know it's early evening there in Hawaii. Hello to everyone in Maui, all of my dear family and friends there in Maui. And across the United States is a much better time. I'm going to experiment with these different times and see if they suit people better to tune to the live stream. It's mid-morning here in Australia, so let's go with this and see how we go. You might have seen the title, Energy Update for February 2025. I'm going to be talking about the energy in which we're stepping into. Things are moving at an exponential rate right now, energetically. This is the time many of us have waited for. Those that aren't aware of what I'm talking about, they're finding it challenging right now. They're finding it challenging because they're being questioned with their whole reality. What they perhaps believed is being revealed to them as perhaps not truth. So their whole paradigm is being questioned. Over the next 4 weeks, we're going to see an exponential movement of polarity. Some are going to really resist, and they're going to fight back, and they're going to get quite angry. Wayne Dyer once said, if you squeeze a lemon, you get lemon juice. Sometimes when you squeeze people, you see what is inside of them. Now, this is a very good gauge to see what really is inside us when we get squeezed. This happens for me too. You know, when I have areas that are within me that I need to work on, and I get squeezed by life or get squeezed by people, often I see my own imperfections that I get invited to let go. So it's not about getting into a battle with somebody else. It's not about getting into conflict. It's about recognizing and growing from the experience. What is in you that you are being invited to let go of? What resistance are you holding on to that your high awareness, the universe itself, is inviting you to release? February is going to be marked by change. What are we in right now? We're in the year of the snake. Symbolically, that represents a shedding of the old beliefs, old ideas, old ways of doing things and being. That's quite uncomfortable for us. When we have identified egoically to a way of doing things, perhaps our entire lives, and now we're being invited to let go of old beliefs, old ideas, old ways of doing things, and embrace something different, something new. You know, even myself, I've been challenged this year tremendously to let go of fear. For me, you know what it was? It was fear of inadequacy, fear of being judged, because that was the pattern and the trauma of my past growing up. I was different. And I took on all of those ideas and beliefs and projections of others, and I made that my reality. When I was in Maui, I was invited to a sacred ceremony to release the judgments that I held towards myself, the fear which manifested as a shy identity. Now that I've released that shy identity, I can more unapologetically communicate with you without fear of what comments come in, what people might think, that I'm not inadequate, that I'm inadequate rather, and just be more in the flow and in authenticity. Isn't that a much better way to live? So that's how it's affected me. How is it affecting you? Let me know in the comments. Aaron, how is it affecting you? This shift, this change. It's an invitation from the universe. It's an invitation from your guides, from your angels, from your spirit team to release what is no longer required. In yesterday's video, I spoke about politics and being caught in the ideologies of political perspectives. It doesn't mean that we don't pay attention to politics. Of course, politics affects all of us, wherever we reside around the world, whether you're here in Australia, you're over in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, or anywhere around the world. We're affected by decisions that are made by our governments. However, if we stay at that level of consciousness in a ideology that is opposed to another's ideology, we stay in what I call the separation, duality. And we're being invited right now to release and to rise above the level of duality, to recognize, this is the core message of all spirituality that we're being reminded of, is the oneness that is pervasive, not only through the human race, but throughout the entire cosmos. The recognition that we are all aspects individually of the one consciousness, the divine nature of all. You are divinity itself. And when you begin to see your divinity, you begin to step into it. And that is when your gifts activate. That is when you start to speak unapologetically. You speak from not the egoic mind and the conditioning of your life experience situation, your analytical lower brain self. You begin to speak from the heart. Now, the heart is the voice of your intuition, your higher self, your higher awareness. And hello, Lizzie and Romy, I think it is. That is the voice of your higher self, the heart. We're being invited to disidentify with the analytical mind. The egoic analytical mind has got us into this mess for thousands of years. And you look at some of the more indigenous tribes of the earth, they lived more heart-centeredly. They lived from the heart. They were in harmony with the universe. They were in harmony with nature. They're in harmony with the one all. And we got sidelined by the ego. Of course, your ego is going to fight you on this realignment. Gonna say that doesn't make sense. But, lots of buts. And yet, at the same time, the call now is to move from the mind and into the heart. It doesn't mean that we don't have a mind, need a mind, use a mind. But is it our guiding force? Are we being led by the mind, or are we being led by the heart? The invitation from the universe now is to be led by your heart. How is my sound today? Can you give me a heart in the chat if my sound is good? I don't want it to be too loud or too soft. So let me know in the chat. And of course, Aaron, once again, always is moderating these chats and is doing a wonderful job. So send Aaron some love. And hello to those that have joined. Some of you know that one of the most inspiring teachers of mine was Dr. Wayne Dyer, who has passed on now. He spoke a lot about living from the heart. And he was an intelligent man. He had a doctorate. He was a university professor, as well as his teacher, Ram Dass, who was a Harvard professor. But these aren't people that hadn't identified with their minds, and brilliantly so. But it was really for them to release all of that and to be guided and led by the heart. That is the realization that they tapped into. With all of their analytical brilliance, all of their acquisition, all of their education, they realized that the heart is vastly more intuitive, intelligent, and beyond anything that can be constructed by the mind. Dolores Cannon, who is familiar with Dolores Cannon's teachings, she would often say that this, I don't like to say this because I feel it's a little bit derogatory, but I'll quote her. She called it Mr. Stupid. She said that it thinks it knows everything but knows nothing really. Very limited, very small perspective of reality. I tend to agree with her. I agree with the fact that this is so limited, and yet it has run our lives. It has run our world. It has run our politics. It has kept us in division and poverty and war. And the invitation from the universe itself, from the higher beings that are assisting us, is to listen to your heart. And when you listen to your heart, you are guided to your highest truth. Those two aspects, most of the time, will have different perspectives, will tell you to go into different directions. But the true way, the way that presents remedy, the way that it presents solutions, real solutions, is to follow the heart. What is your heart telling you? How do we hear more of the voice of our intuitions? It's to go within. It's to silence the mind. How do we silence the mind? Yoga, meditation, nature is there. Breath work is there to assist us. Beautiful natural oils like lavender help ground us, center us, bring us into the body. The more we get into the body, the less we identify with the mind. The more we enter the heart space and hear, feel, sense, know where we're being guided to next. For a lot of us, it's more of a feeling, a knowing, rather than a thought. Although thinking may arise, but it's really going into the heart and feeling what is right. You can do this when you look at particular people, and energetically you can sense their vibration, their energy. Not what they say. People can be very articulate and very convincing. Look at any salesperson. A brilliant salesperson can convince you of almost anything, right? Because of the language which they use, their skill with language. But if you truly go to the heart, you can feel someone's energy, you can sense it. And in that feeling, knowing space, all of the answers are there for you. When I work with people individually, this is the place I take them to, which we call the higher self. It knows everything. It is like a device that is connected to a network that is able to access all information, all wisdom, all knowledge. And you have a direct connection to that. That is why your own authority is your highest authority. Let me go back to the energy predictions for February. Over the next 4 weeks, we are going to see a huge split in political ideologies. We're going to see a lot of anger, left, right. I invite you to rise above the division. I invite you to arise above the separation and hold space in a higher consciousness. Love, compassion, understanding, even if you disagree with someone's perspective. Hold space for them. Could you love thy enemy, as Jesus said? Could you love someone of a different political opinion and persuasion? Let's not fall for that division again. Let's elevate our frequency, our consciousness higher, to remember that we are one. The most sacred number in all of numerology is 1, because it represents the oneness in which we all are aspects of. One divine consciousness. Who's resonating with this? Let me check the comments. Indeed, Thunderstone, compassion is the way. Yes, compassion, love. Jesus said, when they were crucifying him, that forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. What was he saying there, metaphysically? Forgive them, they're not conscious. They're in their thinking, they're in their politics, they're in their religious ideology, and they're not thinking from the heart. They're not seeing what they're doing. But forgive them nonetheless. Because when you forgive, you release all of that attachment. It's not about the other person. It's always about you. And when we forgive, we just release the bonds of attachment. That is why the central message from all of the greats has been to forgive. Because it liberates, it sets you free. It helps you raise your frequency and vibration so that you can obtain higher states of consciousness and awareness. So this shift is happening, the shift that Dolores Cannon spoke about, the shift that many great wisdom traditions have pointed to. A golden age of humanity. It will not be an easy transition. It hasn't been an easy transition since 2012 when the combination point began. But it is going to become more obvious, particularly over the next 4 weeks, of the split that is occurring in consciousness. Those that are getting it, are waking up, are realizing truth, perhaps surprisingly, coming from people and things that they didn't think they would come from. This isn't about savior figures. This isn't about right or wrong, or the right political leader or the wrong political leader. This is about consciousness. This is about awareness. This is about a universal force that is communicating. Could you release your own dogma, your own ideas of how we save the world? Did you have a specific way you thought it was going to unfold from an analytical mind's point of view, where you thought that was the way we needed to go? Could you release those analytical ideas and move more into the heart and go with the momentum of the heart and feel into it? What feels right? What feels true? Your heart will never lead you into the wrong direction. I promise you that. Your heart will only lead you to your highest truth. You don't need a guru. Although gurus, teachers, guides can be helpful, some like to align themselves with people that are of higher consciousness. But ultimately, you don't need it. You only need your highest truth. So maybe this video is helpful to you. Thank you, Lizzie. Glad that resonates. Thank you. Welcome, Stacey. Great to see you. And of course, Aaron is moderating. Give Aaron some love. And Metrics Sphinx, welcome to you. I like to welcome silence even when I'm communicating, because it allows more to come through. You're exactly where you need to be. You're hearing this message for a reason. You're being reminded. You've been guided to this. Let's set intention as you're either watching the replay or listening to my words live. Let's set intention that we're going to live from the heart. You're going to hear my doorbell going in the background. That will ring. That we're going to live from the heart and not from the head. Because your heart will always lead you to your highest truth, to your highest awareness, and to everything that you seek. Your heart will invite you to release things that no longer serve, aspects of yourself that no longer serve you. But it will never lie to you. It will never leave you astray. And so with that, I'll leave you, and I'll see you next time I communicate.